him, I tell him face to face, I've said it on the show, he went too far left for me often. But it is encouraging to see that in at least 3 places I can think of, he has moved it back to the center. But he's got a long way to go if he wants to do that. You know, relaunch it, rebrand it. But it would have to be somebody who is unapologetic about calling them out. People have lost faith in the Democratic Party for very good reasons. You know, you're the only one I hear who, doesn't look like he cares what the other Democrats.
Bill Maher recently sat down with Stephen A. Smith and highlighted a key reason why Democrats continue to struggle in their attempts to make a comeback. His perspective echoes concerns that many analysts have been pointing out for years. It might not be the explanation people typically expect, but it's definitely one that deserves serious attention. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do so. Let's dive in.
Actor, a comedian, a producer, a writer, and host of the hit HBO political talk show, Real Time with Bill Maher. The one and only Bill Maher is with me right now. What's going on, Big Time? How are you, sir? How's everything?
I'm not an actor.
Well,
Don't ever call me an actor.
I apologize.
I'm the opposite of an actor, like you. Actors are avoiding the truth and playing parts. We're real and telling what's real.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate I correct myself. Thank you for the reminder. First of all,
I'm just messing with you.
I know.
At first, it might seem like Maher's joke is just another swipe at Hollywood stars and their familiar habit of grandstanding. But a closer look reveals that his criticism is aimed much nearer to home, at his own party. He isn't simply mocking celebrities for entertainment. He's issuing a warning to Democrats who, in his view, have lost touch with everyday reality. Over time, he has consistently argued that the party has shifted its focus toward theatrics, symbolism, and virtue signaling, rather than pursuing practical policies that actually improve people's lives. Instead of prioritizing concerns like rising costs, public safety, and economic stability, he believes Democrats have leaned too heavily into performative politics designed to appeal to social media and elite circles. The humor may land as a joke, but the message behind it carries real frustration. Maher sees a party more focused on crafting sharp sound bites and cultural messaging than on delivering effective governance. And in his view, that growing disconnect is exactly why many voters are starting to tune out.
I thoroughly enjoyed myself. It's the best political show on television. I don't care what anybody says. But I will ask you this. When you look at Trump and some of the things that he says, what are you more concerned about in this day and age, Bill? Is it how the right feeds off of what he says? Or is it how the left reacts to what he says? What has you more concerned at this particular moment in time as we just purview the landscape, look at our country and the state of affairs that's going on around here?
Well, I love it that you always, like what you were just saying before I came on about free speech, and you said, well, you know, let's be honest, the left sort of courted this a little bit because they weren't exactly champions of free speech. So you always have to look at that. I mean, I know that the woke people don't like it that I do that, and maybe they don't like it that you do it either, but that is the reality, and I think we should all do it a lot more, is just be honest about both.
Bill Maher has long cast himself as a frustrated insider, someone who still identifies as a Democrat but feels increasingly out of step with the party's current direction. He often argues that Democrats blur the line between performance and genuine progress, leaning into dramatic gestures and symbolic victories rather than focusing on policies that address real, everyday challenges. From his point of view, the party has grown too reliant on political theatrics, staged outrage, virtue signaling, and applause-worthy one-liners, while many voters remain concerned with issues like crime, inflation, housing, and job security. His humor may entertain, but it carries a sharper edge. Beneath the punchline is a clear warning. When style starts to overshadow substance, people notice, and eventually they respond.
The Democrats, the reason why, I'm taking you a little more seriously for this is because the Democrats definitely need an outsider. I mean, I'm going to give you a little preview of something I'm working on that'll be on our show one of these weeks at the end as an editorial. To me, the Democratic Party is a ghost brand. You know what a ghost brand is? It's like Sears or...
Bill Maher has argued that the Democratic National Committee currently lacks a figure capable of mounting a serious challenge to Donald Trump. In his view, many of the party's top voices are so absorbed in ideological debates that they struggle to connect with everyday Americans or present a compelling alternative. Rather than projecting strength and clear leadership, he believes they can come across as overly performative and disconnected from the real issues people face. He points to this gap as a key reason Democrats continue to struggle at the ballot box. According to Maher, the party has allowed internal purity tests and activist-driven messaging to overshadow practical thinking and broad voter appeal. Because of that, he suggests Democrats may need to look beyond their usual circles for leadership, someone not shaped by the current culture within the DNC. In his opinion, a fresh perspective, free from internal echo chambers, could be essential if the party hopes to rebuild its relevance and compete more effectively.
A company, Abercrombie and Fitch, but they've really fallen on hard times.
Yeah.
But they've been around for a long time. So there is value in, it's an asset, right? Because there are still people who know of the company, and if you could have somebody take it over, who's not sentimental about that company and, relaunch it, rebrand it. But it would have to be somebody who is unapologetic about calling them out. People have lost faith in the Democratic Party for very good reasons.
According to Bill Maher, today's Democratic Party is only a shadow of what it once stood for. He argues that it often comes across as hollow, loud and highly performative, rich in rhetoric but short on substance. In his view, the Democratic National Committee spends too much energy repeating slogans, engaging in political theatrics, and celebrating its own messaging instead of offering clear, practical solutions to the issues people actually face. As a result, Maher believes public trust has gradually declined. Voters who once saw the party as a champion of working-class concerns and pragmatic leadership now view it as more focused on ideological positioning than effective governance. He argues that this erosion of trust is the party's real crisis, not just losing elections, but losing relevance altogether. When people feel ignored, talked down to, or taken for granted, they begin to disengage, and Maher sees that widening disconnect as a key reason many Americans no longer feel aligned with the DNC.
I really don't.
Right,
I
know.
don't give a damn what they say. I really don't.
I know. And it's somebody, I don't either. I'm right where you are. We're very close on all these things. And I think somebody with that kind of abandon is the only person who is going to win back former Democratic voters who have switched over.
But you also have faith in California Governor Gavin Newsom, did you not?
Bill Maher outlines a vision of leadership that he believes could reconnect Democrats with disengaged voters, one that looks very different from the party's traditional mold. In his view, the ideal candidate would be an outsider, someone willing to challenge party norms and uninterested in catering to its more ideological edges. He argues that this kind of figure would stand out precisely because they refuse to get caught up in political theatrics or pressure from activist circles. Instead, Maher imagines a leader grounded in facts, real-world experience, and practical thinking. Rather than leaning on abstract ideas that don't resonate widely, this person would focus on everyday concerns and speak in a direct, relatable way. He believes that qualities like honesty, clarity, and the courage to push back against excesses within the party could help re-engage voters who have tuned out. For Maher, authenticity, not strict ideological alignment, is what's been missing, and he sees a pragmatic, reality-driven outsider as the key to restoring both credibility and relevance.
Not exactly what I'm describing now.
Right.
I think he'd be a great candidate. He has shown in recent months the ability also to move to the center. He would have to do it a lot more. But as a candidate, he looks great. Great speaker, very forceful, can be mean, which is really important, and he can do it. He also has the backing, or certainly should, of where the energy is in the Democratic Party, the far left, because, he's been out front on a lot of very liberal issues, which I think is great. Gay marriage here in California and stuff like that, pollution, all sorts of stuff that we believe in. But, he does have a long track.
Bill Maher has long been vocal about his admiration for Gavin Newsom. In multiple interviews, he's told Newsom directly that he sees real presidential potential in him. That history is what makes Stephen A. Smith's question so intriguing. After all, Newsom doesn't exactly match the outsider profile Maher has been promoting, someone detached from party culture and unbothered by progressive pressures. Instead, Newsom is deeply rooted in the Democratic establishment, closely aligned with its leadership and messaging. This creates a bit of a dilemma for Maher. Does he stick with his long-standing praise? Or does he apply the same critical lens to Newsom that he uses for others? That tension is what makes the moment so compelling. It pushes Maher to weigh his admiration against his broader critique, setting up a response that feels both honest and revealing.
I tell him face to face, I've said it on the show, he went too far left for me often. But it is encouraging to see that in at least 3 places I can think of, he has moved it back to the center. But he's got a long way to go if he wants to do that.
Do you think a far lefty can win a national election in this?
Bill Maher argues that while Gavin Newsom may have the potential to become a strong president, his biggest hurdle at the moment is that he comes across as too aligned with woke politics. In Maher's view, Newsom carries noticeable ideological baggage, and if he hopes to be taken seriously on a national level, he'll need to move away from that image. He believes voters are increasingly frustrated with performative politics and culture war messaging, and that Newsom would benefit from focusing more on practical results and clear, grounded leadership. But Maher suggests the challenge goes beyond perception alone. Newsom's record in California also presents real obstacles. Issues like heavy bureaucracy, high taxes, and an ongoing homelessness crisis continue to affect millions of residents. These aren't just political talking points, they're everyday realities for many Californians. Maher's argument is that unless Newsom can show meaningful progress on these fronts, his presidential ambitions may remain more aspirational than realistic.
See?
Yes, I'm just whether it's what you said about Newsom, whether it's an AOC. I mean, do you think somebody like that can win a general election for the presidency of the United States in this day and age? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I mean, that's, anything is possible, and possibly it would excite a certain group of people who have not voted. And what if 80% of Gen Z voted? Could then a Mondami-like candidate win? I guess so, but I'm not expecting that to happen, and I don't think it's the smart bet for the Democrats. There was an article in The Atlantic this week about, the Democratic leadership keeps saying the Democrats should change course.
It isn't guaranteed that even if a large share of Gen Z turns out to vote, they would automatically lean strongly toward the far left. That idea is often repeated, but it overlooks how diverse and fluid younger voters' political views can be. Gen Z, in particular, is not locked into one ideology and could realistically shift in different directions depending on the issues that dominate the political climate. In recent years, there has been increasing pushback against what many describe as woke politics, along with growing skepticism among young people toward ideas they may have previously accepted more easily. As a result, topics like affordability, employment opportunities, free speech, and overall economic stability are becoming more central than symbolic or identity-based messaging. Because of this shift, some argue that the influence of woke culture may have already reached its peak, or even started to decline. If that trend continues, Gen Z's voting behavior may not follow the expectations of political analysts. Instead of automatically aligning with progressive candidates, a meaningful portion of younger voters could be drawn toward politicians who focus on practical concerns, communicate in a straightforward way, and avoid cultural overreach in favor of tangible results.
Democrats should change course, away from the far left, but they're not doing it.
Right.
They should all read that article.
And to me, if they're not doing it, they're not paying attention to what's going to win. They just want to vent. I'm listening to Jasmine Crockett. I'm like, that verbiage ain't going to work. AOC could win the Senate seat and take it from Chuck Schumer in New York City, but that's not going to win a general election. So Mondani might win the mayor seat in New York City, and Trump and his acolytes may be scared to death that it's going to permeate throughout the country because of what happened in Minnesota, what's happening in New York City, what potentially could happen in California. But that's not the entire country. So for me, I'm very, very worried about the left.
According to Bill Maher, Democrats will continue to struggle in elections unless they move away from catering heavily to the far left and shift closer to the political center. His broader argument is that national elections are ultimately shaped by moderates, independents, and swing voters, not by the most vocal groups on social media or within activist spaces. When party leadership allows fringe positions to dominate the conversation, he believes it risks alienating the broader coalition needed to win power. Figures like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Jasmine Crockett may hold growing influence within activist-driven circles and internal party debates, but Maher suggests their impact has limits when it comes to nationwide appeal. While they can energize a loyal base, He argues they may also reinforce the perception that the party is disconnected from everyday concerns of many voters. In his view, unless Democrats recalibrate, emphasize pragmatism, and speak more directly to the political center, internal wins and symbolic victories will not translate into broader electoral success. That's the core of his warning. Without a shift in approach, winning the party argument won't necessarily mean winning elections.